The glass doors of the conference room reflected Madison Hayes's calm face. But inside, 37 angry parents were shouting for her termination. On the projection screen behind them, a video played on loop showing what appeared to be her accepting a thick envelope from a parent in the parking lot, counting cash with greedy fingers. The timestamp read last Tuesday at 6:45 p.m. "That's not me," Madison said quietly, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade through silk. "That video is fabricated." Fabricated? Senator Morrison stood up, his 6'4" frame towering over the seated teacher. His son Blake sat beside him, trying to hide a smirk. "Are you calling all these parents liars? We have evidence, multiple videos. You're done here." Madison's hands rested flat on the table. No trembling, no fidgeting, just perfect stillness. The kind of stillness that comes before a storm. What nobody in that room knew was that 24 hours earlier, something had happened that would expose a conspiracy darker than anyone imagined. And the three boys who had orchestrated it all were about to learn that some teachers carry lessons from classrooms far more dangerous than any they could imagine. But to understand how Madison Hayes ended up facing down the most powerful families in Connecticut, we need to go back 3 weeks. Back to her first day at Westbrook Academy. Back to when she was just another idealistic teacher who believed in the power of education to change lives. She had no idea how right she was, or how much it would cost her. The September morning was crisp when Madison parked her 10-year-old Honda Civic between a Tesla and a Maserati in the faculty lot. She'd dressed carefully for her first day, professional blazer, modest skirt, hair pulled back in a simple bun. Nothing flashy, nothing that screamed she'd grown up in a trailer park in South Boston. Nothing that hinted at the scars hidden beneath her long sleeves. "You must be the new English teacher," a voice called out. Madison turned to see a woman in her 50s approaching. "I'm Carol Bennett, History Department. Welcome to Westbrook." "Madison Hayes," she replied, shaking the offered hand. "Thank you. It's beautiful here." Carol's eyes softened with something that looked like pity. "Yes, it is. Just remember, these kids are different from what you might be used to. Their parents donate millions to this school. Some of them think that buys more than just a quality education." Madison nodded, understanding the warning. "I appreciate the heads up." "What made you leave Boston Public?" Carol asked as they walked toward the main building. "I wanted to make a difference," Madison said simply. It wasn't a lie. It just wasn't the whole truth. The whole truth included words like witness protection and testified against. But those were stories for another day. Her first class was Advanced Placement Literature. 17 seniors, all destined for Ivy League schools. They filed in with the casual arrogance of teenagers who'd never been told no. Madison watched them, cataloging faces and body language. 23 years of training had taught her to read a room in seconds. Blake Morrison entered last, walked to the back row like he owned the place. 6'2", lacrosse player's build, senator's son swagger. His friends flanked him. Jackson Reed on the left, thin and sharp-eyed, fingers always moving like he was typing on an invisible keyboard. Ryder Knox on the right, stockier, louder. The kind of kid who laughed at jokes he didn't understand just to fit in. "Good morning," Madison began, writing her name on the board. "I'm Miss Hayes, and this is AP Literature. This semester we'll be exploring the theme of truth in American literature. What it means, how it's constructed, how it's destroyed." "Sounds boring," Blake muttered, just loud enough to be heard. Madison turned, met his eyes directly. Then you're free to transfer to regular English. Mr. Morrison, though I suspect your father wouldn't approve." The class went silent. Teachers at Westbrook didn't usually push back. Blake's face flushed red. "I think I'll stay," he said, voice tight. "Excellent choice," Madison replied smoothly. "Now, your first assignment, a 5,000-word essay on the nature of truth in The Great Gatsby, due Friday. And before anyone asks, yes, I will be checking for plagiarism. Yes, that includes AI-generated content. Yes, I can tell the difference." Jackson's fingers stopped moving. He exchanged a look with Blake. The rest of the week passed quietly. Too quietly. Madison had been in enough fights to know the difference between peace and the moment before the first punch. This was definitely the latter. Friday arrived with storm clouds that matched her mood. She collected the essays, noting that 3 students hadn't turned theirs in: Blake, Jackson, and Ryder. "Gentlemen," she addressed the empty spaces where their papers should be, "you have until end of day to submit your work. After that, it's a 0. "Check your email," Blake said lazily. "We sent them last night." Madison pulled up her laptop, checked her inbox. Nothing. "I don't see anything." "Maybe check your spam folder," Jackson suggested. That same knowing look in his eyes. She did. 3 emails, all time-stamped at 11:59 p.m. the night before, all containing essays, all clearly written by the same artificial intelligence, just with different prompts. The writing was too perfect, too uniform, too lacking in the beautiful imperfections of human thought. "Interesting," Madison said calmly. "All 3 of you happen to write essays with identical sentence structure patterns, the same vocabulary frequency, and the same grammatical quirks. What are the odds?" "You can't prove anything," Blake said. "Actually, I can." Madison pulled up a program on her laptop, ran the essays through it. The screen lit up red. 94% probability of AI generation. 0% on all 3. "That program could be wrong," Ryder protested weakly. "It could be." Madison agreed. "So let's test it. Each of you, write 1 paragraph right now about what Gatsby's green light symbolizes. If your writing matches your essays, I'll apologize and give you all perfect scores." The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. "This is harassment," Blake finally said. "My father will hear about this." "I'm sure he will," Madison replied. "In the meantime, you have 0s. You can rewrite the essays, properly this time, for half credit. Or you can take the 0s, your choice." After class, Blake lingered. His friends waited by the door, but he waved them off. "You don't know how things work here," he said quietly. All pretense of teenage bravado gone. Teachers who cause problems don't last long. Madison packed her bag methodically. "Is that a threat?" "Mr. Morrison, it's a fact. Ask Carol Bennett about what happened to the last teacher who failed me." "I'm not the last teacher," Madison said, meeting his eyes. "And you're going to find I'm quite different from anyone you've dealt with before." Blake studied her for a long moment. There was something in her stance, the way she held herself, that made him uneasy, like looking at still water and sensing sharks beneath. "We'll see," he said finally, and left. That weekend. Madison went through her usual routine. 5 a.m. run through the empty streets. 7 a.m. training at the gym 40 minutes away, where nobody knew her as anything but M. Afternoon spent grading papers and preparing lessons. She'd built a life of careful routine, of controlled environments. Westbrook was supposed to be her fresh start. her chance to just be a teacher. She should have known better. Trouble had a way of finding her. Even when she'd changed her name, moved 8 times, and buried her past under degrees and teaching certificates. Monday morning brought the first salvo. Madison arrived to find her classroom rearranged, desks moved, personal items shuffled, nothing missing, but everything violated. The message was clear. "We can get to you." She set everything right without comment, taught her classes without acknowledging the disruption. But she also did something else. She installed a small camera in the corner, hidden in a plant she'd brought from home. Old habits die hard. Tuesday was quieter. Blake turned in his rewritten essay. It was terrible. Clearly his own work, full of half-formed ideas and grammatical errors. She gave it the C- it deserved. A C? Blake stared at the paper like it had personally insulted him. "I've never gotten below a B+ in my life." "Then you've been very fortunate in your previous teachers," Madison said. "This grade reflects the quality of your work. If you'd like to improve it, I'm happy to provide additional guidance." "I don't need your guidance," Blake snapped. "I need you to fix this grade." "No," the single word hung in the air between them. Blake's face went through several colors before settling on a dangerous shade of purple. "You're going to regret this," he said quietly. Madison had heard those words before. From bigger men than Blake Morrison. Men with guns instead of trust funds. Men who had actually followed through on their threats. She'd survived them all. "Noted," she said simply. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have papers to grade." Wednesday brought escalation. Her car tires were deflated, not slashed. That would be too obvious, just deflated enough to make her late. She changed them herself in the parking lot, ignoring the smirks from Blake and his crew as they drove past in Jackson's Range Rover. Carol Bennett found her afterward. "They're testing you," she said quietly, "seeing if you'll break." "I don't break," Madison replied, wiping grease from her hands. The last teacher who stood up to Blake Morrison left mid-semester, said she got a better offer elsewhere. We all knew the truth. The Morrisons made sure she'd never teach in this state again. "I'm not going anywhere," Madison said. Carol studied her. "You're different from the others. Military." Something like that. Madison deflected, close enough to the truth. The gym where she'd lived for 6 years after aging out of foster care had been run by an ex-Marine who believed discipline could save anyone. He'd been right. Thursday was when things got digital. Madison woke to find her social media flooded with friend requests from fake accounts. Each profile picture was her face, photoshopped onto inappropriate images. Nothing explicit, but enough to be uncomfortable. She screenshotted everything, reported the accounts, and moved on. But Jackson wasn't done. By lunch, emails were circulating among parents. Concerns about the new teacher. Whispers about her questionable background. Links to articles about teachers who'd been fired for social media scandals. All careful, all legal, all designed to plant seeds of doubt. Madison watched it unfold with the detached interest of someone who'd survived much worse smear campaigns. She documented everything, built her file, and waited. In her experience, bullies always overplayed their hand. You just had to be patient. Friday came with the smell of rain and trouble. Madison entered her classroom to find Blake, Jackson, and Ryder already there, sitting in the front row for once. "Miss Hayes," Blake began formally, "we wanted to apologize for the misunderstanding about our essays. We've been thinking about what you said about truth in literature." Madison raised an eyebrow but said nothing. In fact, Jackson picked up smoothly, we've been documenting some interesting truths ourselves about you. He pulled out his phone, showed her a video, security footage from the parking lot. But something was wrong. It showed her accepting an envelope from a man she'd never seen before, counting money, nodding satisfied. That's not me, Madison said immediately. Technology is amazing these days, Jackson said. Deep fakes are getting so realistic, but this isn't a deep fake. This is real security footage from Tuesday night, time-stamped and everything. Madison looked closer. It was good. Very good. Her face, her clothes, even her mannerisms. But the hands were wrong. The fingers too long. The nails manicured when hers were always short and practical. Details only someone who really looked would notice. What do you want? She asked. Change our grades, Blake said simply. All A's for the semester. Or this video goes to the school board, the parents, the media, along with several others we've discovered. Madison leaned back against her desk, considering. 3 privileged boys who'd never faced real consequences, never been in a real fight, never had to struggle for anything. They thought they were predators. They had no idea they were threatening someone who'd been forged in fires they couldn't imagine. No, she said. No, Ryder echoed, confused. No, you can release your videos. I'll deal with the consequences, but I won't change your grades. I won't validate your cheating, and I won't let you bully me into betraying everything I believe in. Blake stood up, fury radiating from every line of his body. You have no idea what you've just done. My father owns this town. We'll destroy you. You can try, Madison said calmly, but you should know something. I've been destroyed before, rebuilt myself from nothing more than once. You think you're scary because Daddy has money and influence? I've faced down real monsters. Boys, and I'm still here. Something in her voice must have penetrated their arrogance because, for the first time, uncertainty flickered across their faces. This weekend, Blake said, recovering his bravado. We're releasing everything. By Monday. You'll be begging us to let you resign quietly. They left, and Madison sat alone in her classroom, thinking. She could run. She'd done it before. Pack up her few belongings, disappear into another city, another name, another life. It would be easy. But she was tired of running, tired of letting bullies win, tired of being the victim. She picked up her phone, scrolled through contacts until she found the one labeled Coach. She'd promised herself she'd never call this number, never go back to that world. But sometimes, to defeat monsters, you had to remember you were one too. Marina, the gruff voice was exactly as she remembered. That really, you? It's Madison now, she said, and I need your help, not for fighting. For something more important. Name it, Coach said without hesitation. You know I've got your back, always. I need to prove some videos are fake, deep fakes. You still know that tech guy from the gym, the one who helped with the security system. Tommy? Yeah, he's around. Does cybersecurity now for big companies. What kind of trouble you in, kid? The kind where entitled rich kids are about to learn what happens when they corner someone who's got nothing left to lose, Madison said. Coach chuckled, a sound like gravel in a blender. That's my girl. Send me what you got. We'll handle it. Madison hung up, looked around her empty classroom. Monday would bring the storm. The parents, the board, the fury of the Morrison political machine. But she'd weathered worse storms. And this time, she wasn't running. She pulled out her laptop, began typing an email to the principal. Full disclosure about the threat, the fake videos, the bullying campaign. CC'd to the district superintendent, the state education board, and her lawyer. Then she activated the hidden camera in her classroom, downloaded the footage of Blake's confession and threat. The last email she sent was to her students, the ones who'd been watching the drama unfold with worried eyes. "Class," she wrote, "Monday's lesson will be about standing up to bullies and the power of truth in the digital age. Please read the attached articles about deepfake technology and be prepared to discuss. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the face of fear. See you Monday." She hit send, gathered her things, and headed for the door in the parking lot. Blake's crew was waiting by her car, filming with their phones. "Last chance, Miss Hayes," Blake called out. "Change our grades and this all goes away." Monday Madison walked past them without stopping, got in her car, started the engine. Through the rearview mirror, she saw their confident smiles. They thought they'd won. They thought Monday would be her destruction. They had no idea Madison Hayes had been destroyed before. And like a phoenix, she'd learned the secret of rising from ashes stronger than before. Monday would come with accusations and fury and demands for her head. But Monday would also bring something else. The moment when three bullies learned that sometimes, the prey they'd chosen had teeth of its own, and Madison Hayes, former Marina Volkov, survivor of things that would break most people, was done being anyone's victim. As she drove away from Westbrook Academy, her phone buzzed. "Coach again." "Tommy looked at your files. These aren't just regular deep fakes. This is next-level stuff. Professional grade. These kids got help. Big help." "How big?" Madison asked. "Corporate big. Government contract big. Whatever you stepped in, kid, it's deeper than just high school bullies." Madison smiled grimly. Of course it was. Nothing in her life was ever simple. But that was okay. She'd trained for complicated. She'd survived impossible. "Send me everything Tommy finds," she said. "Monday's going to be interesting." As she hung up, thunder rolled across the Connecticut sky. Storm coming in more ways than one. But Madison Hayes had learned long ago that storms weren't something to fear. Sometimes, you had to become the storm yourself. She thought of Blake's smug face, of Jackson's cold calculations, of Ryder's eager cruelty. They thought they were alphas, top of the food chain. They were about to learn that in the real world. There were things far more dangerous than entitled rich boys, and one of them was teaching their English class. Her phone rang one more time. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then decided she was done avoiding confrontation. "Miss Hayes?" The voice was female, young, scared. "This is Jennifer Walsh. I'm in your third period class. I shouldn't be calling, but I had to warn you. Blake's dad is at school right now. Emergency board meeting. They're going to ambush you Monday morning before classes. Make you defend yourself without time to prepare." "Thank you for telling me, Jennifer," Madison said calmly. "Aren't you scared?" Madison thought about it. Fear had been her companion for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to live without it. But somewhere along the way, she'd learned to make fear her friend instead of her master. "No," she said honestly, "I'm not scared. And Jennifer, neither should you be. Bullies only have the power we give them." She hung up, turned her car toward home. 3 more miles to her small apartment. 3 more miles to plan. 3 more miles before the final countdown to Monday began. In the storm clouds above, lightning cracked across the sky. Madison smiled. She'd always loved storms. They washed away the old and made room for the new. And come Monday, Westbrook Academy was going to see one hell of a storm. The question was, would it wash away Madison Hayes, the mild-mannered English teacher, or would it reveal Marina Volkov, the fighter who'd never lost a match she couldn't afford to lose? Blake Morrison and his crew thought they knew the answer. They'd counted her training, her preparation, her careful control as weakness. They were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room was the one who knew how to fight, but chose not to, until pushed too far, until given no choice, until Monday. Monday arrived wrapped in fog so thick you could barely see 10 feet ahead. Madison Hayes sat in her car outside Westbrook Academy at 5:30 a.m., watching the mist swirl around the empty parking lot. In 3 hours, this place would be packed with angry parents, board members, and reporters. The Morrison political machine had worked overtime during the weekend. The fake videos were everywhere. Her phone buzzed. Coach's text was brief. Tommy found something big. The software used to make those deep fakes has a digital signature. It's proprietary tech from Morrison's company. The senator owns a tech firm that develops this stuff for government contracts. These aren't just bullies, kid. This is corporate espionage-level stuff. Madison wasn't surprised. Bullies were the same whether they wore Letterman jackets or three-piece suits. The only difference was the size of the damage they could do. She entered the building through the side door, using her key card. The hallways were empty, eerily quiet. But as she approached the main conference room, she heard voices, many voices. They'd started early. Madison paused outside the door, centering herself the way Coach had taught her all those years ago. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. Feel your feet on the ground. Know where your exits are. Be ready for anything, but expect nothing. She opened the door. The room was packed. School board members, parents, reporters in the back row. Principal Coleman sat at the head table, looking like he'd aged 10 years over the weekend. Senator Morrison stood at the podium, mid-speech. Cannot allow this kind of person to influence our children. The evidence is clear. Multiple videos showing Miss Hayes accepting bribes, engaging in inappropriate behavior. And worse, we demand immediate termination and criminal investigation. Good morning, Madison said clearly, walking to the front of the room. I understand there are some concerns about fabricated videos. Fabricated, Mrs. Blackwood, head of the PTA, stood up. We've all seen them. Are you calling us liars? No, ma'am. I'm calling you victims of a very sophisticated deception. Madison set her laptop on the table, pulled up her presentation. May I? Principal Coleman nodded weakly. Madison connected to the projector. Let's start with the video of me allegedly accepting a bribe last Tuesday. She played the video, then froze it at the moment of the handoff. Notice anything strange about my hands? Silence. The nails, said a voice from the back. Jennifer Walsh, the student who'd warned her, was standing by the door. Miss Hayes never wears nail polish, and her hands are different. She has a scar on her right knuckle from... Jennifer trailed off, uncertain. From when I broke it several years ago, Madison finished. Good observation, Jennifer. Now watch this. She pulled up another screen, showing the technical analysis Tommy had done. This is the digital fingerprint of the software used to create this video. It's not commercially available. It's proprietary technology developed by Morrison Technical Solutions. She looked directly at the senator. Your company. Senator Morrison. The room erupted. Parents shouting, reporters typing furiously, board members demanding order. This is ridiculous, Senator Morrison boomed. You can't deflect from your behavior by making wild accusations. I'm not making accusations, Madison said calmly. I'm presenting evidence. Evidence that your son Blake, along with Jackson Reed and Ryder Knox, attempted to blackmail me into changing their grades. When I refused. They used technology from your company to create these videos. Prove it, Blake said from his seat beside his father, still confident, still sure of his untouchability. Madison smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Gladly, she clicked to the next slide. Security footage from her hidden camera filled the screen. There was Blake, clear as day, showing her the fake video on his phone. The audio was crystal clear. Change our grades, all A's for the semester, or this video goes to the school board, the parents, the media. Then her response, no. Then Blake's threat, my father owns this town. We'll destroy you. The room went silent. That's taken out of context. Blake stammered. Really? Then let's provide full context. Madison played the entire conversation. Every threat, every admission, every arrogant assumption that money could buy their way out of consequences. Senator Morrison's face had gone from red to white. This is entrapment. You recorded my son without permission. Actually, a new voice said from the doorway, she was well within her rights, single-party consent state, and clear evidence of criminal threatening. Everyone turned. A woman in a sharp suit entered, followed by 2 FBI agents. Special Agent Sarah Chen, FBI Cyber Crimes Division. We've been investigating Morrison Technical Solutions for misuse of classified technology. Miss Hayes's report gave us the final pieces we needed. This is a setup, Senator Morrison sputtered. No, sir. This is accountability. Agent Chen nodded to her colleagues, who moved toward Blake and Jackson. Blake Morrison, Jackson Reed, you're under arrest for cyber harassment, creating and distributing fraudulent digital media, and attempted extortion. Dad, Blake's confidence finally cracked as they cuffed him. I want a lawyer, Jackson said. But his usual smirk was gone. Ryder Knox sat frozen in his chair, looking like he might faint. As for you, Senator, Agent Chen continued, we'll need you to come with us for questioning regarding your company's involvement. The next hour was chaos. Parents demanding answers, reporters shouting questions, board members trying to maintain some semblance of control. Through it all, Madison stood calm in the storm's eye. When the FBI had left with their suspects, when the reporters had been ushered out, when only the board and a handful of parents remained, Principal Coleman finally spoke. Miss Hayes, I owe you an apology. We all do. We were so quick to believe. You believed what you were shown, Madison interrupted gently. That's human nature. The question is what we do now. What do you mean? Mrs. Blackwood asked. Madison looked around the room at the chastened faces. This isn't just about 3 boys who thought they could bully their teacher. This is about a culture that enabled them. A system that taught them their money and connections made them untouchable. She pulled up a new presentation. Over the weekend, after the threats were made, I researched. Blake Morrison has been reported for bullying 17 times since freshman year. Each time, the complaints disappeared. Jackson Reed hacked into the school's grade system twice. No consequences. Ryder Knox was caught cheating on his SATs, his father made a donation, and it went away. Are you saying we're all to blame? A parent asked defensively. I'm saying we all have a choice now. We can go back to the way things were, or we can use this as an opportunity to change. Madison clicked to her final slide. I'm proposing a comprehensive anti-bullying program, not just policies on paper, but real training, real consequences, real change. And if we don't agree, someone asked. Madison shrugged. Then I'll teach my classes, grade fairly, and deal with whatever comes next. I've faced worse than entitled teenagers, believe me. Worse? Principal Coleman asked. What could be worse than this, for the first time? Madison let them see beneath the calm teacher facade, just a glimpse of the steel underneath. I grew up in foster care, she said quietly. Aged out at 18 with nothing but a garbage bag of clothes and a lot of anger. Found my way to a gym in South Boston run by an ex-Marine named Coach Miller. He taught kids like me to fight so we wouldn't have to. Gave us discipline, purpose, hope. She rolled up her sleeve, showing the scars on her forearm. These aren't from fighting in the ring. These are from before, when I didn't know how to defend myself. Coach taught me that real strength isn't about hurting others. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. You're a fighter, Mrs. Blackwood asked, reassessing the mild-mannered teacher. Was, Madison corrected. Had 23 amateur matches, won them all. Could have gone pro, but Coach convinced me to use my brain instead. Got my GED, then college on a scholarship, then my teaching degree. Because he was right. Violence only creates more violence. Education breaks the cycle. Then why didn't you report the threats immediately? Someone asked. Because I needed evidence. And because I wanted to give them a chance to make the right choice. They didn't take it. Madison looked at the empty chairs where Blake and his crew had sat. But that doesn't mean they can't learn. Even now. The room was quiet, processing this new information. I'd like to visit Blake, Madison said suddenly. And Jackson, and Ryder if his parents will allow it. Visit them after what they did. Principal Coleman looked shocked. Especially after what they did. They're facing serious charges. Their lives as they knew them are over. They can either learn from this or let it destroy them. As their teacher, I'd like to help them choose the first option. Over the next 2 weeks, Madison divided her time between teaching and visiting her former tormentors. Blake was in juvenile detention, awaiting trial. The first time she walked into the visiting room, he wouldn't even look at her. Come to gloat, he asked the table. Come to teach. She replied. Your essay on Gatsby was terrible. By the way, want to talk about why? He looked up, surprised. You're serious? Dead serious. You wrote that Gatsby was a hero for pursuing his dream. But you missed the point. Gatsby's dream was built on lies. Just like the videos you created. And just like Gatsby. Those lies destroyed everything. Blake was quiet for a long moment. My dad always said winning was everything. That laws were for people who couldn't afford lawyers. And where is your dad now? Under investigation. His company's shut down. Mom filed for divorce. Blake's voice cracked. I destroyed my whole family. No, Madison said firmly. Your family was built on a rotten foundation. You just exposed it. The question is, what are you going to build now? She left him with a copy of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Read this, then write me an essay on choosing your response to circumstances. I'll grade it fairly. Jackson was under house arrest with electronic monitoring. His parents, both tech executives, seemed more upset about the damage to their reputation than their son's actions. "He's always been gifted," his mother said. "Maybe too gifted. He got bored, acted out." Madison met with Jackson in their home library. He looked smaller without his usual tech gadgets, younger without his smirk. "The FBI says I'm looking at 5 years," he said, "for making some stupid videos. For weaponizing technology to destroy someone's life," Madison corrected. "For using your gifts to hurt instead of help. Like it matters. My future's over." Madison pulled out her laptop. "Actually, I've been in touch with a friend who runs a nonprofit teaching coding to at-risk youth. They're willing to let you volunteer, under supervision, as part of your community service. You'd be using your skills to help kids who never had your advantages." Jackson looked at the screen, saw the program details. "Why would you do this?" "Because wasted talent helps no one. And because I believe people can change, even entitled boys who thought they ruled the world." Ryder was the surprise. Without Blake and Jackson, he seemed lost, almost relieved. His parents, middle-class people who'd stretched to afford Westbrook, were devastated but supportive. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," Ryder told Madison during their meeting. I wanted to belong. Blake and Jackson were the cool kids. I thought if I helped them, I'd be cool too. And now I realize I was just their puppet. They would have thrown me under the bus in a second." He paused. "Like I was ready to do to you. I'm sorry. Really sorry." Madison gave him a reading list focused on moral courage and standing up to peer pressure. "Your essay assignment is different. I want 3,000 words on a time you should have stood up to them, but didn't, and what you'd do differently now." The transformation at Westbrook Academy was gradual but real. Madison's anti-bullying program was approved unanimously by a chastened board. Students who'd been silent victims began speaking up. Teachers who'd been afraid to rock the boat found their courage. Carol Bennett cornered Madison in the faculty lounge one afternoon. "You did it. You actually changed this place." "We changed it," Madison corrected. "I just lit the match. Everyone else chose to help the fire spread. Still, takes guts to stand up to the Morrisons of the world. Most of us were too scared." Madison poured herself tea, thinking. "I was scared too, but Coach taught me something important. Fear is just information. It tells you there's danger, but you get to choose what to do with that information. Run, freeze, or fight smart. And you fought smart. I fought the only way that creates real victory. Not with fists, but with truth. Not for destruction, but for transformation." 3 months later, Madison stood in her classroom grading final essays. Blake's paper on redemption in The Shawshank Redemption showed real growth. Jackson's analysis of technology and power in 1984 was insightful and personal. Ryder's piece on moral courage in To Kill a Mockingbird was the best work he'd ever done. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Jennifer Walsh stood there with a group of students. "Miss Hayes, we wanted to thank you for everything. You showed us that standing up to bullies is possible." "You're wrong," Madison said, making them blink in surprise. "I didn't show you it was possible. You already knew that. I just showed you that you're worth standing up for. Never forget that." After they left, Madison returned to her grading. Her phone buzzed with a text from Coach. "Saw the news about your school winning that state award for transformation. Proud of you. kid. Your dad would be too." Madison smiled, touching the small scar on her knuckle. Her biological father had died when she was 12. But Coach had become the father she needed. He'd taught her to fight so she could choose not to. Taught her that real strength was measured in the people you lifted up, not knocked down. She'd won the chance to keep teaching, to keep fighting the good fight, to keep proving that sometimes the smallest person in the room could cast the longest shadow. And that shadow, cast by a foster kid who'd learned to fight so she wouldn't have to, would protect countless students for years to come. The war against bullying would never truly end. But today's battle was won, and tomorrow, Madison Hayes would be ready for whatever came next. Because that's what teachers do. They show up, they stand up, and they never, ever give up on their students, even the ones who tried to destroy them. Especially those ones. Every September brought fresh faces, some confident, some scared, some angry at the world. She welcomed them all with the same quiet strength. "Miss Hayes's class is different," they'd tell their parents. "She sees us." And she did. She saw the hidden bruises, the silent tears, the desperate need to belong, because she'd been there. She'd lived it on quiet afternoons. She'd sometimes find notes slipped under her door. Thank you letters from students she'd helped find their voice. Updates from graduates who'd learned to stand tall. She kept every single one. The foster kid foundation she'd started grew beyond Willowbrook, spreading to other schools, other towns. A network of teachers trained not just to educate, but to protect. Madison Hayes had learned long ago that you couldn't save everyone, but you could save someone. And sometimes, that someone would go on to save others. The ripples spread outward, endless and powerful. In her small classroom, with its faded posters and squeaky desks, she'd built something unbreakable. Not walls, but bridges. Not fear, but hope. One student at a time. One day at a time. One victory at a time.